Hey guys, I thought I had a joke about the Millennium Falcon hyperdrive. Turns out it doesn't work.
One of us testing. Roger, roger.
Jedi.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
Always a pleasure to meet you.
And my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy!
You failed, Your Highness. I'm a Jedi.
Worst one yet. Hello, explorers. I'm your host, Jack, and welcome to episode 108. As always, thank you very much for joining us. And if you like what you hear, please leave us a rating on your podcast provider of choice. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you join us via YouTube, make sure you subscribe on that as well.
Oh, Jimmy, that was a terrible joke, but thank you all so much for the love on last week's episode. I'm your host, Charlie, but as you can hear, we've got the lads back together for a discussion topic that is very, very close to my little Jedi heart. But before we get stuck in, I want to know, how is everyone doing? How are you, Jimmy?
I'll pass this week.
Okay.
So how are you doing, Jack?
Yes, I've been super busy preparing for my move to Canada. Things are packed. Everyone's prepared. 18 days from today. Raring to go. So lots of change in the Cope Steak household. Charlie, how are you? And what fun fact do we have?
Oh, thank you. I'm doing okay. I've had a pretty nasty cold this week, but I am slowly, slowly starting to feel better. So if you see me muting my microphone and disappearing, I'm having a bit of a coughing fit. Don't worry. However, my fun fact for this week. So, we all know about the 4 hour long cut of Revenge of the Sith, but
Yep.
did you guys know that George Lucas's original draft for A New Hope was 200 pages long? It, the average screenplay is usually between 95 and 125 pages, like a page a minute. This was the version that he initially submitted to studios, so now we know that George has never been the most concise. There's also a comic that was released in 2014 that attempts to adapt the whole thing. It's called The Star Wars. Great. And let us know if you'd like to hear a Explore the Force dramatic reading of the original script. Thank you.
Can I do all the British voices?
hmm
Yes. Hello, governor.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's now that I got that out of the way, let's head over to our Force encounters.
For my ally is the Force.
So this has been a running theme for the weeks of the podcast. I've been watching through all of the Star Wars films in chronological order, and I've been having a great time. I've finally finished the original trilogy, and I fear that Empire Strikes Back is no longer my least favorite Star Wars movie. I take back everything I've ever said, every slander I've ever made against it. I had a wonderful time. I cried my eyes out from start to finish, and I completely forgot that Empire has some of my favorite lines in all of Star Wars. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. How perfect, how utterly, utterly beautiful. But yeah, lost my mind over Empire Strikes Back. And I also wanted to give a special shout out to one of our listeners, Darren Briscoe. He's super active on the Facebook and our Instagram, and he's always got something super, super lovely to say. And he took some time to send me a message about my Rey cosplay and Rey in general. So I wanted to share with you guys because it's really sweet. He said, I love your Rey cosplay. She is my favorite character from the sequel trilogy and a great role model. She's spunky yet unsure of herself and her abilities. Having daughters, I just cared for her. I thought it was inspired to have her as a lead, and Daisy Ridley knocked it out of the park. Her theme by John Williams is simply astonishing, full of hope, and if I'm honest, makes me weep to hear it. So beautiful that her character got so much flack I couldn't understand for a second, but hey ho. I have my Hot Toys Ray and BB-8 figures proudly on display in my cabinet. F the haters. Thank you, Darren.
What a guy.
Nice. Yeah, my week. I had a bunch of Star Wars Force encounters. First off, we had my nephew Emmett, who is about a year and a half old, I think. I'm not good with babies and their ages, but he was crying and being kind of, like babyish. And we turned on, well, Molly actually turned on Young Jedi Adventures. And I took him and I put him on my lap and we sat on the couch and we just watched Young Jedi Adventures. And it's the first time I've really watched through it. It's actually a pretty fun little show. It's pretty cute. Has a lot of, happy story, like little messages. And these like 3 to 5 minute episodes. I didn't know idea that they were that short either. So I thought it was a lot of fun. It was pretty cute. Hanging out with my nephew, getting them started. And then I found this giant Nubs stuffy at a discount place. So he'll be getting that soon. And I told his dad that I'm buying him all the Young Jedi Adventure toys because they're all on sale. And when he's old enough to play with them, he and Uncle Jimmy will have some adventures together. And then, so that was a great start. And then I found myself diving into, I've had, like I said, a lot. Finished Wayseeker. That was an amazing book. And Taylor and I will hopefully be diving into that soon. And then getting ready for the last book in Trials of the Jedi, book number 27 of the High Republic. And I'm finding myself diving through a lot of the phase 3 comics that I haven't read yet, trying to figure out where the story's going, all that kind of stuff. And it's been a pretty fun adventure. I don't know why I haven't read them yet, but there is so much. I understand people get a little overwhelmed. And I guess be a good topic. There we go. We were just talking about topics, being overwhelmed by Star Wars. Movies got nothing on the books and the comics. So, but yeah, how about you, Jack? Have you had a fun Star Wars week?
I have and I haven't, because I've still been packing up stuff. I've still got my things behind me that you can see now if you're watching on YouTube, but that's going to be going this week anyway. I'm just going back for all the old stuff that I've been collecting. And it's just making my mind boggle again. Some of the autographs that I've got, the people I've met, the old school things I've got, like Star Wars Tazos, and just reminiscing about things. And I've still not taken out my Darth Maul concept yet from Celebration in Japan. So I'll be cracking that bad boy open when I get to Canada. But yeah, it's just been nice. It's just been nice going through things, just putting them in boxes and realizing what things mean to little things. And it sort of ties in with your story, Jimmy. I'm sure your nephew, in probably 10, 15 years' time, will remember sitting on Uncle Jimmy's lap watching Jedi Adventures and then remembering the toys and that he's got. But yeah, awesome. Right, let's head over to this week's news coming from Batu.
The people in this crowd will soon be among almost 40,000.
For those who are among the 900 with news media or promotional tickets, this sneak preview promises to be the only chance to see The Empire Strikes Back without standing in line.
This week, we are kicking the news off with an absolute banger, and thank you to Variety for this story. The immensely talented Mia Goth is headed to a galaxy far, far away. The Pearl actor has joined the cast of Sean Levi's Star Wars Starfighter, which also stars Ryan Gosling. Details of her role are currently being kept under wraps. However, I have heard things and seen things on the internet that apparently she's the villain. I've also seen that apparently Ryan Gosling is protecting, I think it was his nephew or a child or something who could be.
Changed it when it first came out. It was his nephew, and then they changed it. I was watching, just randomly fell on someone's YouTube channel yesterday when I was setting up my new studio, and they said that they had changed it from when it first came out. It said his nephew, and then they changed it to his ward or something like that.
Interesting. So yeah, we are watching Star Wars. Obviously, the film itself is eyeing a full production start, and Disney has set a theatrical release date of May 28, 2027. Who knows if that will actually happen? And current Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy and chief creative officer Dave Filoni officially unveiled plans for start of it at the annual Star Wars Celebration event in Tokyo. We did post this news story on our Instagram with a little poll, and the results were 94% of our explorers said hell yes, and 6% said I'm not sure. So what are we thinking, guys?
Yes, 100% yes. Mia Goth is a fantastic actor. I've not had a chance to see Pearl yet, but the screenshots that I have seen and the clips that I've seen are absolutely fantastic. She's intense, she's powerful, she's got this fantastic kind of presence on screen, and I'm really intrigued to see a female villain again in Star Wars. I'm really here for that. If those rumors are true.
I mean, you got Sean Levy, you've got Ryan Gosling, You've got
Mhm.
I don't know Mia. She looks tough. She looks like she'll be a good villain. She kind of reminded me of Shin Hati when I first saw her immediately, and they're like, "Oh, villain." I'm like, "Oh, okay." She kind of looks like Shin Hati a little bit. But yeah, why would you be no? Like, I mean, yes,
Yeah.
more Star Wars, please.
Yes,
Yes,
Let's
definitely.
more
hope
I
that
Star Wars,
doesn't
totally,
get
please.
moved.
totally agree with you, Jimmy. More Star Wars, please. Go on.
Yeah, just kind of wondering too, like, we've had these, I don't know, we haven't gotten to talk about it. I think the girls talked about it, but they canceled some dates in December of
Mm.
26th and 27, I think. Are they moving Star Wars back to May? Like, are they moving it back to like a May release instead of a Christmas release? Because now we've got Mando and Grogu in May, and then we'll have, in a year's time, we'll have this in May. So that's exciting if it's back to
Yeah,
the way it was.
maybe it's tying in with the Avengers stuff. I don't know when that's being released.
They have so much coming out, it's impossible. I mean, Avatar, they have the Avatar series, they've got Marvel stuff going on, and then of course they have Star Wars. I mean, they're just competing with themselves half the time.
Yeah, yeah. No,
So,
that's a valid point. I'm like you as well. I've not heard of Mia Goth, so I'm gonna do some homework on her, and I'm
Mm.
down for a female main villain this time. Charlie, over to you. What news have you got?
Thank you. So, not only are Star Wars fans hooting and hollering for Battlefront 3, but clearly, as seen via our Instagram, the fans want season 2 of Acolyte just as badly. And as we celebrate the 1 year anniversary of the show's release, it isn't just the fan, I can see Jimmy nodding aggressively down there. It's not just the fan base that's fighting for a renewal, as a cast member has recently shown her support for the show. Rebecca Henderson, who played Vanestra Rowe in The Acolyte, posted to social media earlier this week to celebrate the anniversary. This came after Henderson was mentioned by the official Save the Acolyte campaign Instagram account, follow if you're not following, and it wasn't long before the actress reposted it with her own hashtags. She said, "Thank you all for the love and support," alongside the hashtags Renew the Acolyte and hashtag Acolyte Summer. To be honest with you guys, I want it back. I want another season. I feel cheated. I enjoyed it so much. I really, really did.
Jack, I'll let you go because I got a lot to say.
Yeah. Listen, I was a massive fan, and I still am a massive fan of the Acolyte. Yes, there's bits in it that didn't appeal to me overall, and how it ended, it left me wanting more. The choreography in it was absolutely incredible. Yes, I think we know that they sort of ran out of money towards the end of it. They've probably got lessons learned, but I'm down for season 2, 100% down for season 2. What about you,
Mhm.
Jimmy?
Yes, please. Everything Jack said, we've talked about this at length, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it again soon. But yes, I think that they need to, like, just like you said, some things really, really work. Some things were like, what? But the potential for season 2, I think, was bonkers with Plagueis and everything that was going on with Chimera and everything and Vernestra. And,
Yeah.
I just said I had finished Wayseeker, and it kind of branches because if you don't know about the book, it's Indara, Master Indara, which was Carrie Ann Moss's character, space, Star Wars Trinity, and then Vernestra. And it kind of shows because as a fan of the High Republic, that Vernestra that Rebecca Henderson played, I wasn't sure if like Rebecca Henderson wasn't a good actor or if that's what she was trying to do with it. But as I
Yeah.
read the book starts to shed some light on why she's so pissed off at the order for, she's from the book. She's been a way seeker for like over a century, or not a century, a decade, for like her second or third time, and she's had some
Yeah.
issues with the council and things like that. So I think that kind of comes out, and the secrets with her and Yoda and things like that. Yeah, the second season will be amazing if they. I think that they need. I know that the rumors are saying that I can't remember who it was saying that every time they come up with a problem, Leslie Headland will say, "What would George do?" And that's great, but she's creative. She knows this stuff. She should. What does she want to do? I do think maybe they should get some outside help writing season 2, or not necessarily writing it, but maybe putting it in order, making it work a little bit better.
Yeah.
'Cause I think that's what really hurts.
Even if it's not Leslie Headland, you know, let's get someone in.
Yeah.
Let's get season 2 done.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm here for it for sure. more Star Wars news, of course. Big thanks to StarWarsNews.net for this little tidbit. We all know Kathleen Kennedy will be departing from Disney eventually, right? We don't know when. It's been reported.
Mhm.
She says, heck no, she's staying, blah, blah, blah. Well, now we have the Hollywood Reporter writer Peter Kiefer found it time to add a quick note to the future of Lucasfilm. Apparently, Chief Creative Officer Dave Filoni, the birthday boy himself, the Yinzer, and Head of Development Carrie Beck are the current go-to choices inside Disney to be the next co-presidents of Lucasfilm. Obviously, we could have guessed that Filoni was on the list, but Carrie Beck, I think, could be another interesting choice for listeners who might not be familiar. Carrie Beck has been a longtime collaborator of Dave Filoni's, executive producing his animated series and also the live-action series Ahsoka. She's also been a co-producer on Mandoverse series, among other projects. There are also rumors of co-presidents arrangements between the two. Thoughts and feelings? I say no to Dave because I don't want him not creating. And if we know anything about those jobs, it'll pull him out. Carrie Beck, though, she seems to be what he was to George Lucas. She seems to be to him, kind of like she's always with him. Like everything he's done, like it says here, she's with them. And I mean, she's got that experience. I don't know. Maybe they work well as a team. Who knows? I don't know. I don't. Yeah. I'd hate to pull them from creating, though. What about you, Charlie?
I have to agree with you. I think Dave needs to be allowed to continue to be creative, and I worry that having this job, bless him, he would end up stuck behind a desk doing paperwork rather than out there writing and creating magic and contributing to the wonderful world of Star Wars. Carrie is also fantastic. I had a little look into kind of her accreditations and her history with Lucasfilm, and she's obviously passionate, long-standing, a huge part of the company, very, very close with Dave Filoni in the creative process. So that could only be a positive. I would also like to see it continue being a woman. I think that was like a really powerful step for Kathleen Kennedy, and it feels like that moving forward is so important. So I think, yeah, no to Dave, but yes to Carrie. But also yes to kind of like a co-president coalition kind of thing going on. I think that could be really cool as well. I feel like split the work because Kathleen Kennedy said before how hard and how difficult this is to do.
Yeah. I'm sort of with you both and against you both at the same time. So I'm agreeing with what you just said there, Charlie, which I think is the best option is to get both as co-creators because, again, it just makes sense. I think, having a man's perspective and a woman's perspective will only prove to reap the benefits because, again, Jimmy, like you said earlier, the biggest enemy of Lucasfilm at the minute is their self because there's that much stuff coming out. They've got to control it. But what I don't want to happen, and this is why I sort of agree with what you were saying, Jimmy, is if Dave Filoni isn't the guy, if the Mando film absolutely bombs and it's his last huzzah, then I don't want him to rush something out to try and save his name, which I don't think is the case anyway. We've seen how emotional and how much he loves Star Wars at Celebration, and he knows how much he means to the fans. We absolutely adore him. So, yeah, I'm more going towards the fact I'd like to see them both purely because I think, again, perspective of both will only prove to be, two heads are better than one at the end of the day.
Yeah, we had this thing. I don't know. We've had an opportunity to talk about it because we've been, all over the place, and I can't remember. It feels like it's been a long time since the three of us have been together on a show. They're talking about this thing called Cowboy Hat Star Wars, that everything that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are connecting. But there were some negative parts to it too, though, because they were saying that they had pushed back on Andor because they didn't feel like it fit Star Wars. If that's true, which I hope not, that would make me a little bit worried to have like a one single-minded person who's like, this is Star Wars, and he does think, and he seems to think that, he knows what George would have wanted and drives that forward. But is that what Star Wars needs? Does it need to change a little bit? Like, like Marvel branches out and does different things on Disney Plus. Does that make sense? Because there was a short article. Nothing really came of it. I remember reading it. I can't remember where I read it from, but it was just they called it Cowboy Hat Star Wars. And so everything under Filoni and Favreau and how they're trying to like block different things that don't fit. And so I don't know. That is a concern if there's any truth to it whatsoever. I hope there's not, but That would be a concern.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on, mate. And I think it's probably a topic that we could discuss. Because George was so successful because when he did Star Wars, it was for kids. But ultimately, it was for everyone, which he achieved. Now, if we look at people's opinions about films they didn't like, I'll go straight to The Last Jedi. Rian Johnson sort of did Star Wars from his perspective, I guess. Whereas other things tried to make the fans happy, which again, I'll probably pick out The Mandalorian. You know, it was the book. It was Boba Fett, really. It was the Boba Fett people wanted, I think, to a degree, maybe. And then you've got that Acolyte again from Leslie Headland's perspective, maybe. So yeah, I think it's something definitely worth discussing. You know, where does it go? What direction does it lead? And I think just going back to our original points, if we've got two heads there at the top, then I think it'll open it up for a broader range of audience.
So this one is for all of my gamers and all of my video game players. So come and listen. I played Fortnite for the first time a few days ago, and I had a fantastic time. And I also had the joy and pleasure of playing the new Star Wars like battle thing that's going on. Also really fun. However, a convention happened a couple of days ago, and Epic Games, who make Fortnite, shared some really exciting stuff this week at the State of Unreal. So for anyone who's been getting into Fortnite or Star Wars, they need to get excited because I certainly am. Since Epic Games launched Unreal Editor for Fortnite just over 2 years ago, players have spent over 11.2 billion hours across 260,000 live creator made islands, which has resulted in $722 million paid out to third party creators. Epic has continued to expand the tools of the IP that are available, and starting from June 17th, creators will be able to build Lego experiences. Exciting new IPs are also coming with Squid Game, and for June 27th, followed by Avatar and Star Wars. So, what I'm talking about here is a game making program that allows you to use all of the Star Wars assets available in Fortnite to make your own levels, to make your own maps, to make your own games. In addition to this, Epic Games are also including a new AI language model to allow players to be even more creative with their games. So you write the scripts and the characters will read those lines for you. And there's also an AI program being launched that helps beginners write code. And I know a little bit of coding back from my HTML days, back when I used to run Tumblr blogs. That's a bit of a throwback. However, this kind of new coding is not something I'm familiar with, so that makes it feel really, really approachable, especially for somebody like me. I don't think Fortnite is going anywhere anytime soon. And I'd also like to point out Unreal Editor for Fortnite is free to download and use. So if you make anything cool, let us know. Specifically, if you make Battlefront 3, absolutely here for it.
That's nuts. It's crazy that what these people can do. And like, we got these kids, and I see this all the time in the classroom. The kids are like, I'm going to be a gamer, and or I'm going to create, and they're getting their opportunities. It's pretty cool. I mean, $722 million paid out to third party creators is bonkers. And now you're going to extend it to Lego and Star Wars. What we said, Avatar, Last Airbender. I mean, that's crazy.
It is. That's insane. Could you imagine, right, if they did this? We've run out of Star Wars ideas. All these people that are making stuff, make it on Fortnite or whatever, and send us your ideas.
Exactly.
Whoever wins gets a special prize of $1 million, and we will use your story and tweak it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That would be cool.
So nice to see the kind of modding community, quote unquote, because I guess this is kind of what this is, be supported and rewarded like this. And it being, I didn't realize Fortnite was such a community-based like kind of project. Obviously, I know it's a huge multiplayer game, and I've super enjoyed what I've played. I would like to say I got a victory royale on my first ever match.
Congratulations.
I'm a natural. I'm brilliant. I'm going to become an esports player. Just you wait and see.
Couldn't even figure out how to get a rifle the first and only time I played it. So
See, I had my wonderful girlfriend sat next to me who was just explaining to me the entire time. So do this, pick that up, go over there, avoid that. It was great.
Gotcha. I need a tutor.
Jimmy,
All
is
right.
there any more?
Yes, there is actually. And I'm excited for this because me and the wife are going to go on a hot date to go see
Ooh.
this because I had to go see Ballerina by myself because she wasn't feeling it. But so hot off the red carpet and the Life of Chuck premiere, Mark Hamill has been blessing us with some wonderful anecdotes from his Star Wars past. Thanks to NPR for this story. Hamill played, of course, Luke Skywalker. We all know this. And Carrie Fisher came to see him on Broadway. And you know, if you've never been on Broadway, some people may not have been, but in the playbill, they have like little bios about all the actors. And it says in the playbill, my bio says I listed all my theater credits, and at the end it said he's also known for a series of popular space movies. Hamill recalls he didn't mention Star Wars because he wanted to focus on theater instead, but his former co-star Carrie Fisher wasn't having it. She goes, "What's the deal? Get over yourself. You're Luke Skywalker. I'm Princess Leia. Embrace it." Hamill says, and I kind of saw what she meant. So today's lessons, explorers, embrace your inner Luke Skywalker. There's a hero in all of us. I seen Carrie Fisher tell this story one time on the Graham Norton show,
Mhm.
and it was hilarious because, you know, she's not as PC as we are here on this show, and she kind of went off,
No.
called Mark a knucklehead for trying to hide, you know, what he's part of. But yeah, that's a great story, and you know, I think he was trying to distance himself from being Luke Skywalker. Like, didn't want that to like consume who he was.
Yeah.
Because we've seen it happen with people in movies and things like that. Like, you're just that person, you know, and then you can't get away from it forever. And especially something as big as Star Wars. Like, there hadn't been anything like that before. So I'm sure he used it to get his foot in the door, though.
Yeah.
But he also, I mean, his voice acting and all the stuff he does, he's incrediable. And I'm excited to see
Mhm.
him in something that's not Star Wars. I'm pretty pumped for this movie. Looks pretty fun because you got Tom Hiddleston. It's
Yeah.
going to be great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this
Charlie
as well.
will be there.
It's going to be a good laugh. Charlie will be waiting for this, won't you, Charlie?
I've been extremely excited. It was a joy and pleasure to see him on stage. Don't get me started. Let us move on, please.
Yeah. Right, that wraps up this week's news. Let's head over to the main show.
All craft, prepare to jump into hyperspace on my mark.
All right, stand by.
So, originally for this episode, we did plan to talk about the future of the Jedi Order, how it rebuilds itself, what sort of things would it need to do. However, clearly, as you're going to hear and see if you're watching on YouTube, our listeners were very keen on talking about a sort of another topic that blends nicely into that. So we're going to sort of do this episode in two parts, if you like. We'll see where we go. So we can hardly talk about the future of the Jedi Order without discussing the next big movie, if you like, the Rey movie, obviously known as Star Wars: The New Jedi Order. So, are you ready?
Oh, leave the jokes to me, big guy. All right, so here's what we know so far about the Rey movie. Okay, it's set 15 years after the events of Rise of Skywalker, which would make Rey roughly 37 years old. Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy, most known for directing several episodes of Miss Marvel and her hard-hitting documentaries about the Middle East, is set to direct. George Nolfi, the Bourne Ultimatum, is the current confirmed writer. Previous writers included Damon Lindelof from Lost, Justin Britt Gibson into the Badlands, and Stephen Knight from Peaky Blinders. According to Hollywood Reporter, Lucasfilm has decided that Rey is now seen as Star Wars' most valuable cinematic asset, which makes sense. I think we talked about that before when that article came out. Like, she is like the thing, whether people like it or not. And some people did not, because we'll read some things. Number 5 here, New Jedi Order is a working title and has not been confirmed by Lucas. This simply appears to be a fan creation. What do we think, Charlie? I know these are your ideas, so why don't you go ahead and read those off?
So I came up with these out of the absolute depths of my brain. So I'm not saying that they're going to be any good, but this is the thing. I was never the keenest on the concept of the New Jedi Order. I know I think it's a title of like a comic or a book series as well. So it kind of it blends into a couple of different things. We have Star Wars Empire of Ashes, which is maybe a little dramatic, but you know, it depends on the tone we're going for. Star Wars The Last Light, which I think is also quite pretty. Uh, Rise of the New Order, which I feel like blends nicely with Rise of Skywalker. It feels like a nice little throwback. And also Echoes of the Force, which I also really enjoy. I feel like we need to get a little more creative. I feel like New Jedi Order is a little bit, well, this is what's on the tin.
Yeah, I mean,
How do you guys feel?
I like those ideas. I mean, I do think New Jedi Order is probably isn't that just I mean, that's just a fan created or
Yeah.
is it
So I tried to pin down exactly where this came from, and it seems to be like a lot of things with the internet. It just sort of appeared in the ether and was sort of, I think someone somewhere said, "Oh, there's this possible rumor from an inside source at Lucasfilm that they're making the film and calling it the New Jedi Order," and obviously people just ran with it, and now it's become sort of the common parlance for it. So
probably
they
just an
probably won't go with that title, but hey,
yeah,
It was
just an
it
easy
was a
way to
London
know whatever.
celebration, weren't it?
Yeah,
It
that's
was
what I
a
was gonna
London
say.
celebration.
Celebration. It's probably just an easy way, like a Baby Yoda kind of situation, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
So we know
yeah,
what we're talking about. So like, could mean we do have the Simon Kinberg trilogy. Is it Kinberg? Yeah. Um, we
mm,
don't know what that's about. Some people think it's like a Ray trilogy, and this is also in that. She may show up in Star. You know, like there's all kinds of rumors flying around. But so this does give us like, hey, we're talking about the new Jedi Order. We know it's kind of like that film, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I'm down for any of those clever clever titles. I guess I would.
thank you.
They're just as good as New Jedi Order. Like at least they're, you know, I think they're better than
Yeah.
New Jedi Order.
See where it takes us. The only ones I could possibly think of title-wise, I'd probably go for Star Wars, an emerging threat or a new threat.
Ooh, I'm
But
here for
then,
I,
that.
how about Ray's Here to Stay? Suck it, fanboys. You can edit that out if you need to.
Yeah, yes. No, no, you know what? Keeping that in. Something I did want to bring up through our little list of facts. Obviously, it's quite well documented that this movie has gone through multiple writers now, through whatever reasons. I do not think, I've seen a lot of criticism for this. I do not think that necessarily makes it the mark of a bad film. Rogue One went through multiple writers. Solo went through multiple writers and directors. It feels like a kind of a rite of passage to be sort of passed hand to hand, writing pad to writing pad, if you will, in Star Wars. And I think what's actually happening is each time they get somebody on board, not quite right, not quite what we're looking for, I think they're taking the time to be really, really specific about this.
yeah, yes, and it sort of leads us on to another piece that Charlie's dug out for us from
Hmm.
an interview back in February with the Hollywood Reporter. So Daisy Ridley said in regards to the delays, because again, we know things have been delayed. She said, people have talked about it a lot, that the release date often affects films and how quickly things go into production. So the freedom to make sure that this script is the best way to tell the story is wonderful. And I don't think any fans would want it to be rushed. Preach. Ridley also says the wait will be worth it, hopefully. I know what George is working on, and he's a phenomenal writer. So I'm really looking forward to reading it. And yes, it's all worth while. So happy days so far. And the next little bit, when I'm reading, she sort of goes off on a bit of a tangent. If I'm honest, so she basically said on the reveal of the film at Star Wars Celebration, so what she said, when we did the announcement last year, it was really my agent flew over, and honestly, I came off and we were all really emotional. Of course, I always feel lucky to be part of it, but it was like a reminder, I suppose, of sorry, I'm just gabbling. So again, she's going off into a bit of a tangent, some things aren't making sense. Then she says, but I suppose a reminder of how people do feel about Ray. I was like, it's wonderful. It's wonderful to be part of something that people love and to play a character that people. And then she stops, goes, it's so weird. It's making me really emotional thinking about it. I have to get more adventures. I'm like, where is she now? What is this new adventure? How are things going to go? That's a long way of saying it's great. It's really great. But there's no details come out or anything yet. I think what she's trying to get at here, personally, is she's keen for more. That's it for
Yeah.
me, in a nutshell. Now, this next bit is super, super interesting. So, interestingly, despite not knowing anything about the plot for this film, we could have been sitting on more hints than we realised. And if this is true, I absolutely adore this. And I hope there's more little golden nuggets out there. So, Galaxy Edge enjoyers may have noticed that upon purchasing a holocron and inserting the yellow kyber crystal consistent with Rey's lightsaber, her voice can be heard speaking, and her message is this. Go for it, Charlie.
Maybe you've heard. I'm all the Jedi. I've studied the sacred texts of the Jedi. Do you know what the most important pages are? It's the blank ones left at the end. Because those ancient teachings knew those lessons weren't finished and never could be. Ben was right about letting go of the past, but not about killing it. My task is to make something new, not by killing the past, but by building on all that's good in it. The Force is so much bigger than any creed, any philosophy, anything that can fit into a bunch of books. Master Skywalker taught me that in the first lesson on Acto. I knew right away I'd never forget it, that I'd never be the same. The early Jedi sought to bind the galaxy's wounds. They looked at what was broken and saw how to fix it. When I read that, I thought, well, I'm good at that already.
Incredible. And that was actually Charlie reading it, not Charlie inserting the yellow kyber crystal in the holocron. So I'll carry on. As always, we reached out, like we said at the start of this, and we have had an absolute ton of responses, which we'll get through in this episode. So again, just keep listening out, because again, we've covered everybody's response in this. First question, probably the most important question. We're going to come straight to you, Jimmy. I'll read one or two of these out, and then we'll get your thoughts on them. What do we want to see from the new Rey movie? Okay, so here are some of the responses. Jimmy, once we've done these, we'll come straight to you. Our good friend Johnny, that me and Jimmy met in Japan, first up, said, I kind of hope for the future they find a new antagonistic entity rather than a new First Order, and overall a more cohesive vision instead of feeling like things were made up as they went along. He said as well, the visions seemed to change a few times between episode 7 and 9, which is going to happen because obviously they change the directors, etc. Again, another personal opinion. Rey is a great character to shepherd in the next era of Jedi, and I hope she works alongside Finn as a Jedi. I'd absolutely love that. Sydney, she also put, the Jedi Order moves on as they always do. All Grandmasters, Masters, Knights, Younglings, etc. do their best to push everything down as much as they need to. The Jedi yearn to be very brooding and mysterious in quite some ways, but I do think this leads to Rey struggling with her past in a new way. At one point, all she wanted to do was know her past and understand herself to a different level. Now, she knows where she comes from, who her birth family are, who her chosen family are, and though she seems to accept these new pieces of herself and her identity, I think she'd struggle with the detriment it left her and her friends in the last time around. She was very close to joining Ben on the dark side. She was quite a frequent user of the Force to her own gain and her own needs. She may not be that person now, but if that's all she knows how to be, a Jedi who is constantly stuck in the middle of what she feels is right and wrong, she'll have to put a lot more effort into learning from the past instead of staying stuck, reliving it. Rey has to think about not just what she feels is right/correct, but what will be the best choice for those around her as the Jedi Order attempt to move forward and evolve. And before I pass to you, Jimmy, the last one, quite short and sharp, from Warren Eagle. It seems as though every generation has to rebuild a Jedi Order in this storyline, and Yoda was the last one to do it. Then Luke, now Rey. What's your thoughts, Jimmy?
Well, Sid brings up a really good point. She talks about, where did I see it? Well, no, I guess it was Warren. He says, every generation has to rebuild the Jedi Order. As a history teacher, I'm always telling the kids, like, if we're lied to as young kids when they're like, well, if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. Well, we keep repeating history and we know it. Like, everybody knows it. Like, we know the things that are happening, and you can see a line of how things are going back to certain stuff like that. And I think that kind of what Sydney said. So like Warren's idea sets that concept up. Like, if we know your history, you're doing to repeat it, but we repeat it anyways, because human beings can't help themselves. But if you take Sydney's ideas, and the whole idea could be that you have Rey, and I'm assuming she won't be by herself. And so let's do things the way it has been done. And that could be, it's in itself the biggest conflict of the movie. Yeah, we want pew-pews and lightsabers and TIE fighters and X-Wings and, Millennium Falcons and stuff like that. But the biggest struggle could be what Sydney was talking about, is with, like, where do we need to go? Where do we need to take this? Like, we need to change things, and especially if, that holocron thing, I had not heard that before. I'm surprised that's not bigger news.
I
That's
know, right?
that is out. I'm kind of shocked, to be honest. So yeah, I think that they're all kind of working together, and of course, I think Johnny, just on those three, are correct as well by saying that they need a new antagonist. And if they just listened to me and Mike's episode, we started writing our own version of the trilogy, the next trilogy, and it's really good, by the way. So, Disney, if you need any ideas, you're free to use it. We'll come on as consultants. So
Nice. What about you, Charlie? What's your thoughts?
So, something I found really interesting reading through all of these comments is everyone seems to be in the agreement that regardless of when Rey appears, she is the essential part for kind of rebuilding the Jedi. Regardless of how she does that, whether she follows Yoda, whether she follows Luke, whether she does an entirely new thing of her own merit, she is the central point of this story. And I think Sydney kind of sums it up beautifully. I think it is such a beautiful character study of Rey and such a deep understanding of the character. And I think that only leaves doors to walk through, really, in terms of where her story comes next. I'm absolutely loving these responses. These are fantastic.
Yeah, and there's some absolute bangers further on. So the only thing I'll drop the bomb a bit early, I was going to say it to the end, is similar to what we're seeing now. Obviously, not all the Jedi know each other. Ezra, as far as I'm aware, and Cal Kestis have never met, don't know each other, etc. Point I'm getting at is, why does it have to be Rey that rebuilds the Order? Who's to say the Order's not already been rebuilt since Order 66 has been given? What could happen if, let's say, Rey does build a Jedi Order and comes across another Jedi Order, and they both point the finger at each other saying, well, you're not Jedi, this is not the way, so to speak. And we sort of have a Avengers Civil War on our hands. And while that's happening, the Sith are
Ooh.
rebuilding up. But yes, interesting. What else we got, Jimmy?
yeah, remind me to talk about the whole Avengers Civil War thing, because I have a concept that the Brandalorian and I are going to talk about, and he wanted to talk about something with me, and anyways, and it kind of has to do with that concept. 'Cause I don't think Rey's going to be by herself. I think that they're setting things up
No.
so that there's many prominent Jedi that we love now that will be there later. But let's get on to other people's stuff. John Rogers says, if I was writing the Rey movie, the new threat would be an extremist movement to kill all Force users. Yikes. In response to how all previous wars in galactic history have been caused by Jedi-Sith ideological rivalry, these people think that the best way to break the cycle is to wipe out all the Force worship entirely. So Rey is now forced into a moral dilemma of trying to prove that the Jedi are still the good guys and is trying to protect a galaxy that now hates and fears the Jedi. It takes a page from X-Men in that way. That's good point.
Yeah.
Also, add in Rey's Palpatine lineage getting leaked and used as propaganda tool against her. In my opinion, this feels like the most natural continuation of the themes and sequels we're already exploring. They have kind of done some of this stuff in Phase 2 of the High Republic. The Path of the Open Hand hates the Jedi and thinks that the Jedi manipulate the Force. But that's a really great idea, and I like that. Kind of like the way X-Men are always fighting against the government because people don't trust them. Arya Nathan Dory replied, John Rogers, damn you, you took my idea. Great minds think alike. My inspiration was more Legend of Korra, though obviously it was inspired by X-Men and the Fate of the Jedi books, and basically the inverse of Kreia from the Knights of the Old Republic. Kreia wanted to kill the Force itself. Yikes. This new threat would want to kill everyone able to wield the Force so that without those using it to their own ends, the Force returns to its natural state, a misguided theory which the story would use to teach the audience the true nature of the Force. Rey's lineage being used against her sounds a lot like what happened in Leia and Bloodline novel, and that was great. It would give Rey the opportunity to firmly distance herself from Palpatine and act as his reputation of the fans who can't accept she's a Skywalker now. Our friend Tom, who's just got back into Disney University, he says, I believe that Rey's new Jedi Order should follow what Luke's Jedi Order did in the expanded universe before it became Legends, with Rey Skywalker as the Grand Jedi Master, Finn and several familiar and new faces as her Jedi students, and an older Grogu and Jason Syndulla, giving the Jedi their counsel. Rey's Jedi Order should be a new and unique order and won't make the same mistakes that the Jedi Order of the Clone Wars did and the High Republic. Yeah, those are great. What do you guys think?
I think that ties in what you were saying about history is always doomed to repeat itself as well. I think so far that's my favorite idea, definitely.
That's
Honestly, my jaw is on the floor. These are amazing. Disney, if you're listening, Disney, please go and speak to these people
They're
because
good.
they have got the right idea. I am absolutely here for. So obviously we've had the Jedi Order under Yoda. We've had the Jedi attempt to rebuild themselves under Luke. I want to see a Star Wars universe now that is done with the Force. I want to see this rise of like the Force is bad, the Jedi are bad, the Jedi Order is bad, and using
Yeah.
Rey's Palpatine lineage as propaganda. I feel like so many of these ideas are inspired so beautifully by the energy that we've got from Andor. Like I'm still riding that wave. I'd go there, go to those places. Don't be afraid to kind of push those storylines because I think people will watch it. I think Rey deserves that. If she's going to be 37, she deserves a mature story to match a mature character because Daisy Ridley also said, like way back, way back before this was even hinted at being announced, that she would only return to Rey as an older character and somebody with that maturity and that age. So these are all absolutely fantastic.
15 years would give you so much time to build up. Like it doesn't have to be,
So
and
much.
you could sit there, man. And I know people are sick of me talking about the High Republic, but get those
No?
writers in a room
Yep.
together.
Yes.
Even if they don't write the movies, let
Yep.
those men and women who created the High Republic from start to finish and run it. I mean, they do such an amazing job. Let them say, this is where we want Ray's movie to start. And then you have 15 years to get us there. Books,
Yeah.
comics, TV shows, the next Clone Wars, whatever you want, to drive that story forward. And then you fill, and it's just like Clone Wars, you fill in the missing stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like you get this movie in a couple years and you go back and you start filling in but you already have everything planned, right? You have these people who do this for a living. They go out to Skywalker Ranch and they have another Project Luminous, and we're all like, "What's that?" And it turns out to be, this amazing writing stuff. But yeah, I think these are really great ideas, all of them. I love that idea of them. Like I said, it kind of comes from the phase 2, where that religious cult is trying to they want to kill the Jedi because they think that the Jedi are using. They think that every time you use the Force as a Jedi, something bad happens in the universe someplace else. Like it
Yeah.
balances
Yeah.
itself. So, and they're like, that's not how the Force works. It's a whole Harrison Ford thing, trying to explain it. But then also in Acolyte, you had that member of the Senate who's trying to get control, right? He was trying to pass a bill to try to get control of the Senate, to take control of the Jedi Order. And in Wayseeker, they talk about this propaganda, this bill that was passed to try to basically harness the Jedi as a weapon and control it. That would be a great story, because that's something I wanted to talk about, is how do you separate yourselves? Because we see that as a problem. So these are great ideas, man. These are awesome.
Mhm.
Really well done.
This is why this episode's took this shape. Like I said, it
Yeah.
does lean into what we wanted to talk about originally anyway, and there's so much to dive into. And yeah, we've still got more comments. I mean, yeah, I'm massively into that idea, a bit of a path the open hand sort of thing. Charlie, what else have we got?
Before that, I think it's so beautiful to see something I really love about this podcast. So obviously I'm massively passionate about Ray and the sequels, and Jimmy, you are I'm passionate about the future of Star Wars, and Jimmy is passionate about the past of Star Wars. And I think it's so wonderful when we have these conversations that you come in with all of this knowledge of the High Republic that's so unfamiliar to me, but I'm hooked on every word that you're saying, and it feels like you're marrying these things together so beautifully. Like it's just cool. I love this podcast so much, honestly.
That reminds me, and this is a cheeky little plug, is go on the YouTubes, watch the shorts and the videos that Jimmy's done about the High Republic,
Please.
and all of this will make so much more sense.
And there's more
So
coming.
good.
There's more coming. Cheeky plug. Cheeky plug.
Cheeky little plug. Anyway, back to the initial topic. We have got more answers to go through. Legend, hero, king, fan of the podcast, Darren Briscoe said, I really have no thoughts about any of it. Honestly, I just want to see the Rey movie and be entertained however it turns out. As for stories following on, yeah, whatever, just give me Star Wars. That's the energy we like to see, Darren. That's what I want to hear.
That's hilarious.
Oh, I love it so much. Trevor Jones said, as stated in The Rise of Skywalker, she is now all of the Jedi. I think that means she has access to training from, like the Matrix, access to
Oh,
training from every Jedi that has ever lived and the mistakes they've made. Perhaps Rey learns to access that knowledge and she will learn from the past and create an all-new Jedi that are free from the mistakes of the old Republic. Yes, 100% yes. And last on my little list is my wonderful friend Velociranger Ryan, who said Rey forms a community-focused sect of Jedi. Meanwhile, other Jedi schools pop up with differing views. You could have the legacy of who Ahsoka trained, Cal, maybe the High Republic. There we go. Jimmy.
yes, please. I love that last one from Ryan. The idea that because like everyone, again, um, Jedi was not just for Jedi, right? It was all these different Force religions. I actually wrote a 5-page paper on the on over people crying about the acolyte, right? And the this what were they called? What were the witches called again? I cannot remember. The Power of Two, right?
Yeah.
Power
Yes.
of Two. And everyone's like, that's not how the Force works. And there's all this literature, there's all this stuff that shows you that it does work that way. And then to have Jedi all kind of not agreeing at first, and then you could have some like main villain kind of bring them all together or something. Like you
Yep.
could do things a different way. Yeah, that would be. I really like that. I really, really,
Does,
really,
does
really
this
like
tie in
that.
with the Civil War idea?
Similar, yes, because these people, yes, because I have a theory that ties to the path and some things that happened in uh into the Jedi games that I think is all going to could possibly turn into something in my mind, which is a scary place. But what do you guys think about those? Jack, do you have any comments on those three before I dive into the next ones?
Yes. Again, I'm going to pick out Darren's purely because I think there'll be people on the fence that really don't care and they just want Star Wars, personally.
Yeah.
So stand
I'm
out
here for
for
it.
me, Darren. Back to you,
Nice.
Jimmy.
All right, so Eli Basement Beskar cosplaying Jedi Grandma Ahsoka being sassy and old as beep. I like that one too. Yeah. Kevin Arts Darth. I really hope the sequels are getting the Clone Wars treatment, even if it's just a miniseries squeezed in before the post sequel films come out. Because of the lack of sequel content, it's giving the false impression that those films are not worth it, which echoes exactly how many felt about the prequels before the Clone Wars was released.
Mhm.
Resistance clearly wasn't enough. No, it definitely wasn't. If we had more stories about major sequel characters, it would cement their place in the saga even more. On the other hand, I believe that the longer the gap between the Rise of Skywalker and the Rey film is, the bigger the reaction will be. And the same goes for Finn as well. Now, that's a great point. Oh, also from Eli, Rey's participated in and helped lead the fight against the forces of darkness for the last 3 movies. I don't think there's anyone more fitting to take the title of Grand Master. Granted, it's possible that they may opt to restructure the new Jedi Order so as to avoid the shortcomings of the predecessors. Regardless, I definitely think Finn will be right by her side, and hopefully we'll get to see him with a lightsaber of his own, too. As cool as I think it would be to include other Force users that might be around during the time you starting getting into very old territory. Ahsoka's 47 at the time of season 1 of Ahsoka, meaning by the time the new Rey Order, she's roughly 71. Do we know how long Togrutas live? Because like Ty York and some of these characters have been around for hundreds. Vernestra's been around for,
Mhm.
they've been around for hundreds of years. The Jedi. That being said, Jedi Grandma Ahsoka would be great. I have to concur that I think, but I don't know how long they live.
82
Simon
to
Cart.
94 standard years, bro.
All right, so yeah, she could easily be around. And you never know. Again, you don't know how things work in different galaxies. So she's off in Peridia, and if she's stuck there during the main trilogy or whatever, maybe she's not aging the way that she's supposed to because it doesn't have to work that way. It worked that way in Interstellar. You know what I mean? So like, there's all
Yeah.
kinds of things they could do. They just get creative. Think
It-
outside the box, people.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
also anyway. So Simon Cardboard Cutout Cosplay says, I think she would be a great. Should be a Grand Master. I hope Finn will be there as a knight and teacher, as it's meant to be 15 years after the rise of Skywalker. She will use Luke's training, but will let attachments be allowed as she believes in found families. Ah, it's beautiful,
That's a
yeah,
great shout.
and that's kind of some of the stuff we'll get into the second half of our show just
Yes.
talking about the things that she and Finn and some of them will train. So Simon, I really appreciate that because that's really when we came up with this topic. That's kind of what we were talking about. But like, there's so many great ideas that we're just like, yeah, we've got to talk about this. These are just blown away. So, like I said, Disney, Lucasfilm, they're free for you. This, hook
Help
these people up with
yourself.
some tickets or something. Maybe give us the red carpet treatment or whatever, and all of our friends. So, but yeah, what do you guys think about those? Those are awesome, awesome ideas.
I am again absolutely blown away. Eli, I really, really enjoy your passion for Grandma Jedi Ahsoka. I 100% think if that is possible, that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know that with Twi'lek and Togruta, their Leku grow as they age. So I want like full Shakti. I want down to her
Tripping over
toes,
her.
tripping over them. Yeah. I I also wanted to point out the comment from Trevin in the previous group of things about Rey being all of the Jedi. One of my favorite moments in Rise of Skywalker, I remember absolutely bawling my eyes out in the cinema. I want Force Ghosts. I want genuine interactions with Force Ghosts since we've now seen kind of Obi-Wan having this extended relationship with Qui-Gon at the end of the Kenobi series. Give me all of that. Literally give me all of the Jedi because I think that's so, so cool. What a better way to build the council than with the connection to every other council that has ever been. Take learning from their mistakes to the absolute extreme.
To be like a less funny version of the ghost in Hogwarts.
Yes. I really, let me just try and find the point that I liked. It was. Uh, no, I apologize. I'm jumping ahead. Do ignore me. Jack, thoughts and feelings?
Yeah, I'm down with the Ahsoka thing. So, like I said, 82 to 94 standard years, but it also says those that are attuned to the Force can live up to 200 years.
Wow.
So that probably would fall nicely into it. Also, common theme throughout all of these comments pretty much is the want for Finn to return as a
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was
Jedi.
gonna say that. Yes, that's exciting.
Yeah.
So down for that. So down for that. Charlie, over to you.
Over to me. So, interestingly enough, again, we initially asked about how the Jedi Order rebuilds, and all of you amazing people, you did contribute to this discussion topic, but I have heard so much love for Rey, and it makes me unbelievably happy. Once again, if there are new listeners, this will be no surprise to anybody. I am a huge, huge, huge fan of Rey. She is my favorite Star Wars character of all time. I love her, and this feels like this episode has been such a little love letter to her. But as we're kind of coming to the end of the episode, we're going to have to split this into two parts. And next week, I think we want to know a few more things. So write down these ideas, percolate some ideas, and pop back to our social media and give us your answers. One, do the Jedi change any of the Jedi codes? I know I would. And number two, do they stop listening to the chancellors of the Republic and become their own unique society? I think this would be really important. That separation of quote unquote church and state. Very, very essential. Let's do that. Number three, do they need another army, whether it be clones, a mass Jedi army,
Even followers.
even followers? Number four, do they change their recruitment strategy? What are we doing about the children? And the fifth and last one on our list is, does the Jedi training change? So, these are a few things to bear in mind for next week's amazing episode where we will look further into, does the Jedi Order change or start all over again?
Any more points, Jimmy, that you want to add on to those lists? I know we only came up with 5.
No, those are great. I think that it'll get people's brain juices flowing, and that's kind of where I
That's what
want
I
to see
want.
what is she. Everything we know about Star Wars, and we got people who love the EU, and they know all these things about it. They got people who love the Old Republic. We got people who love the High Republic. We got people who love stuff now. What needs to change from all those eras to keep? And I also want to add: is it possible for them not to fall eventually? Just given the fact
Yeah.
that, and so, I would like to, I guess, maybe answer that question. And can they create, another, a certain number of, like they're going to create this Jedi Order that's going to be able to last, with the way they, because I think, you sit there and you look at like the universe is expanding, but it's also getting smaller because it's falling under the Republic. Are they going to be able to separate themselves, and how do they do that? And some of these questions are perfect. So I love it. I'm excited for that conversation.
Yes, there is lots to talk about. So as always, get your thoughts, feelings, and everything else heard. Like we said, we'll be doing this. In fact, it won't be next week. It will be the week after, because we have a special episode coming next week. So stay tuned for that special episode with a super, very special guest. You'll be feeling it in your bones. There's a clue. If you know, you know. Any last takes from any of us?
Yes, BB-8. I need BB-8. I need him. I need to see my boy. I miss him. I miss him dreadfully. Please and thank you. Thank you and please.
Did you know that those BB units are actually like therapy dogs? Like in the Aftermath series, they're created to be like therapy dog droids, kind of. Yeah, so it makes them even more like kind of sweet. I want to shamelessly plug the episode where Mike and I, Jedi in the Mailman episode, where we started creating this series, and we have Zygerian slavers. We have a syndicate called the Unkindness. We have Ray, Broom Boy. We have all these people involved in it. And it's just the opening. Yeah, Broom Boy. Where is his name? I have his real name written down here. But yeah, we have all this stuff written out. It's a pretty fun episode. We do plan eventually to kind of come back around to it. We got sidetracked with a lot of Star Wars stuff, but we are writing our own trilogy. But I was pretty happy with how it turned out. So shameless plug. Gunji's going to be in it.
Oh, heck
Nice.
yes.
So
nice. Yeah, could
I'm
even
just saying,
even come back. That's a great shout. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Shameless plug of go and listen to all of the other content that we put out. You should go and listen to Jimmy and Mike, because it's an absolute hoot. I love those two to absolute pieces. So much fun. If you have any questions or you just want your voice heard, then DM us on our socials, send us an email or a voice note at exploretheforce@gmail.com. And remember to like this episode, share it with your Star Wars friends and family. To follow us on all our social media platforms, all you have to do is search Explore the Force, all one word. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And if you want to show your support and spread the word around by image as well as voice, then head over to Redbubble and search Explore the Force, where you can purchase unique merchandise. And a massive thank you to everyone interacting with us via our social media. You keep this podcast amazing. It has been an absolutely blast with some of the comments that we've been reading off. We honestly appreciate it so much. It just makes it that little bit more enjoyable. A big shout out to Mike. Hopefully we'll get you back on soon enough, buddy. Hope you keep in well. Over to you, Jimmy.
Yes. Also, don't forget, we have a Discord now. So if you want to link to that, it is a private Discord, so that we have control over who comes and who goes. And if someone says something stupid, as far as rude and, they're out, right? You can have your thoughts. You can have you like things, not like things, but you're going to do it in a politically correct and nice way, or you're going to get tossed on your keister. So, but finally, after all that, you've been listening or you've been watching Explore the Force. We have spoken. We'll see you guys next week.
Only now, at the end, do you understand?
Close your eyes. Feel it.
I am a sedative.
As wise as Master Yoda, as powerful as Master Windu.
They'll do their job well. I'll guarantee that.
I am going to end this once and for all.
Sure.
You are the chosen one!